For no particular reason, let's talk about the First Amendment to the US Constitution. If you're not from the States, this is the very first right granted to patrons of the United States, which was ratified in 1789. It was actually one George Mason who initially recommended that the Constitution include a Bill of Rights that granted people guaranteed freedoms. This was initially shot down in 1787 and came back around 2 years later, drafted by James Madison. The draft Madison wrote is thus: "The civil rights of none shall be abridged on account of religious belief or worship, nor shall any national religion be established. Nor shall the full and equal rights of conscience be in any manner or any pretext infringed. The people shall not be deprived or abridged of their right to speak, to write, or to publish their sentiments. And the freedom of the press, as one of the great bulwarks of liberty, shall be inviolable. The people shall not be restrained from peaceably assembling and consulting for their common good, nor from applying to the legislature by petitions or remonstrances for redress of their grievances." In modern-day English, this means that the US government can't tell you what to worship or have their state-mandated religion. They can't tell you what to think or say or stop you from expressing yourself in a non-violent manner. They also can't punish the media for saying true things they don't like, and they can't stop a peaceful protest or petition if the people do it for a common good. But I love to talk, so let's go piece by piece. First, freedom of religion. This is exactly what it looks like. It is your unalienable right to believe, speak, and act individually and in community with others, both in private and in public, in accord with their understanding of the ultimate truth. So you can practice whatever you want as long as you don't bring any direct harm to others. This also prevents the government from establishing a preferred religion, as they fear that this would inevitably lead to singular religion having sway over Congress and electing to enforce rulings that make it the only religion. There was actually a court case back in 2005 of McCreary County versus American Civil Liberties Union that asked whether or not a Capitol building having a religious display maintained a separation of church and state. If you don't remember, this was the Ten Commandments display over in Kentucky. This was struck down by the court because they couldn't determine a divide between religious motivation and a secular one. The Ten Commandments can't be displayed publicly anywhere because that would be favoring one form of faith over another. If you can't explain why yours should be included as opposed to every other faith outside of, "this is the one I believe in," it has no place in a school or courthouse. This is known as the Establishment Clause. It's a two-way street that says religion can't influence government, and the government can't influence religion. Second, freedom of speech. This is actually both free speech and free press. It means you can publicly express opinions without fear of censorship or interference by the government. And free press means that you can distribute information, ideas, and opinions without the government getting in your face or prosecuting you. In 1943, after Murdoch v. Pennsylvania, they added that a community may not suppress, nor may the state tax the spreading of views because they are unpopular, annoying, or distasteful. If you don't remember, this was the Jehovah's Witness case. In 1960, Stanley v. Georgia brought forth the general freedom from the government intruding into your privacy and policing your thoughts by trying to control what form of information you receive in the privacy of your own home. This ranges from the news you watch to the books you read. Does this mean anyone can say anything? No. Turn your attention to Thornhill v. Alabama in 1940. One Byron Thornhill was charged with loitering near a place of business with intent of influencing others during a strike by a local union. He was charged as such, and the courts ruled that non-violent protests were included under freedom of speech. You have the right to honestly and openly speak about any public issues or events. The part that a lot of people get caught up on is the honestly part. Certain categories of speech are in fact not protected by the First Amendment. These include obscenity. The average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the subject, taken as a whole, appears to the prurient interest. Prurient means arousing or appealing to an interest in matters of sex. What it really means is if you make something that is overtly shameful in depictions of sex. This has been both challenged and changed recently to mean other things, but originally you had to be really, really overt about it. Fraud. Pretty standard. You may not use free speech or freedom of press to intentionally deceive or deprive someone of a legal right or to gain from them unfairly. Yeah, you can't lie to people for money or property or whatever. This also rolls into false advertising. You can't spread a false claim to the public for the purpose of a sale. This only applies to intentional deception and not just casual mistakes. This is why you see an asterisk and hear that really fast talk at the end of commercials, because they can't say that you weren't told the full detail from the advertisement.
Observe. Honda received more 2011 J.D. Power and Associates highest initial quality awards than any other automaker. Well, let's see. Based on a survey of over 73,000 new vehicle...
Perjury and lying under oath. This is swearing a false oath or lying under an oath or affirmation. This is a big one since lying about an oath to tell the truth can ruin any justice system or cause needless harm. This has to specifically entail the intention to lie under oath and have actually done the deed. Perjury doesn't count lies that don't matter to the legal process, though. If a court wanted you to recount a murder and you stated that you ate strawberry oatmeal when it was really apple cinnamon, you won't be charged with perjury because nobody cares. There are a few more I'll try to pass over quickly. Incitement. You can't talk about causing harm or direct someone to cause harm to another person. I know a certain group of people are chomping at the bit on this one, so let me give an example. In 1969, the case of Brandenburg versus Ohio had the Supreme Court reverse the conviction of a Ku Klux Klan chapter for advocating to cause violence as a means for political reform. What kind of violence and political reform? Take a wild guess. The court decided that since the threat was nebulous and abstract, they had no right to punish them and let it slide. Looks like if that's okay, it might be pretty broad as to what counts under imminent lawless action. You also can't incite someone to suicide. As of 2019, this goes under manslaughter. You can't violate copyright law with free speech for the same reason you couldn't do so normally. You can't counterfeit money. Even though money is fake, you can't cheat at this pretend game we all play. Fighting words falls under the same place as incitement. The only divide is that you can't just go around saying things that you know would provoke a violent action. The caveat is that the speech must be directed at the person hearing it. You can't threaten the president in any manner or anyone in the succession of that office. I'm just gonna link a comedy sketch for this one. I say all of these things you are not allowed to do because here are some things that you are allowed to do. You're allowed to burn a flag. Despite Orange Peel Order number 982, this is still a form of political speech. I might make a video at some point talking about what executive orders actually do. You can still perform hate speech. Yeah. You can vilify, humiliate, and incite hatred against others as long as there is no immediate threat of violence, as I stated before. But most importantly, you are allowed to protest and criticize the government and their personnel.
Himself, there is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
You can't stop me from talking about Kashyap. That dude couldn't catch a cold. This was important to our nation's founders, as a healthy democracy allows citizens to openly proclaim things they do not like about their current administration. I can only imagine that a truly narcissistic despot would be so thin-skinned as to be unwilling to take bad news or earnest insults. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to catch up on The Tonight Show. I think I missed a week.